Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to this week's episode of the Psilly Talk podcast. I'm your host, Shally, and on this podcast, we talk about all things mindset, mushrooms, wellness, and personal development. Today's episode is going to be about aligning yourself with the energy that you want to attract. So it was about 5 to 6 years ago when I first started learning about energy, the law of attraction, manifestation, metaphysics, all of that. And prior to that, I did not know what any of that was. I never heard of those terms or used those terms, and nobody in my life was talking about stuff like that either. I remember actually when I was first starting to learn about it and I would talk to my extremely religious family about things like that, they'd be like, what is that demonic stuff you're talking about? And I'm like, demonic? What do you, like, what? This has nothing to do with demons or religion. Like, I'm just talking about like energy and just in vibes. Vibes was the word. That was the word that I would always use all the time and that people commonly use. Like, oh, I don't like their vibe, or like, oh, I love the vibe here. Or like, yeah, that's all the vibes. Yeah, vibes, vibration, energy. That's literally what it means. So although I didn't exactly know the terms of it and what that entailed and all of that, I was subconsciously aware of it. I was aware of there was things that I vibed with that I liked, and there's things that I didn't vibe with that I didn't like. And there was a vibe that I was enmeshed in that I didn't realize simply because of my surroundings and the people around me. And there was a vibe that I wasn't even aware of because I wasn't exposed to it. So yeah, energy is real, and the energy of certain people, places, situations, circumstances, thoughts, experiences, like that is all so real and so true. And the energy that you emit is the energy that you attract. But the energy that you emit really goes along with the energy that has been normalized to you, that you've been exposed in, that you've been practicing and being in and doing and thinking and believing for so long. So as I was learning about energy and the law of attraction and these certain terms, like being the energy you want to attract, I was also doing a lot of mushrooms and just expanding my mind, expanding my consciousness. And when you're on mushrooms, you're hyper aware of everything going on within you and around you, which is why I always recommend to do mushrooms either by yourself or with people you really trust, and just not especially with your first couple times, like not doing large amounts in like large crowds, because I just don't recommend that. So yeah, I was becoming really aware of this. I was starting to realize like, oh yeah, like I think this way and I think this is normal and I act this way and I believe these certain things because that is what has been normalized for everybody around me. And that's what we all think and what we all believe and what we all do and what we all say. So I just didn't think anything of it. And as I'm on mushrooms and just realizing and becoming aware, it's like I'm hearing my friends and family say things and act in ways for the first time, but it's not. It's normal. It's a way that they've always acted or always spoke or always believed. But because I'm doing mushrooms, I'm questioning that. I'm like, wait, but like, is that belief serving us? Like, is the belief serving us that all men are trash? Or is the belief serving us that we are less than because we are Black people? Or is the belief serving us that you have to work at a job that you hate for 40 years and then retire on a little bit of money and struggle forever? Like, is that serving us? Because I don't think it is. It wasn't serving me. And I was like, there has to be another way. So I'm doing mushrooms. And while I'm doing mushrooms, I was doing them while I was still living in my hometown. So I was just really, and learning about everything. And like I said, learning about energy and the law of attraction and all of that. So my mind is already exposing, like I'm reading different books, reading different articles, looking up different things online, and just exposing myself to new information that I just never knew about, that nobody around me was talking about. And then that led me to want to, I guess, expand even more. And that led me to move. And so I moved to a new city. Miami, to be specific. And if you've ever been to Miami, aside from the stereotypical of what people say Miami is an extremely high vibrational, like the energy is very high there, if that makes sense. Like whatever energy that you are on when you go to that city, it is amplified. So if you go to that city trying to be wild and crazy and party and do all of that, like you're going to do that times 100. But if you go to that city wanting to start a business and network and make a lot of money, like you're going to do that too. And I was on a mission more so to expand myself and heal myself and grow myself. And baby, that happened there. So yeah, I'm living in this new city where I was physically, and also it was the pandemic, right? So not only was I physically away from the people and places and experiences that were familiar to me, I couldn't just easily go be around them for some time. And even though it was only a couple months because we lived in Florida and things opened back up fast, whatever. So during the pandemic, I was away from people that was normalized for me and I was used to being around all the time. So I was away from them, and I started to get used to and normalize other ways of living and other ways of thinking and other ways of being, simply because I was just around other people who were thinking other things. So it prompted me to start living a life that I didn't even realize existed. I was being exposed to people who did what they wanted for work. Like, they were starting businesses, doing the most random things and making so much money. Like, I remember once talking to one of my neighbors, and he was telling me that a friend of his always rents a booth at these music festivals that come into Miami and just sells water. That's the thing he does. And he makes like $100,000 in a weekend just selling water. He probably spends like $25,000 on the booth and all the water and all that, but then he nets $75,000 in 3 days. And I was like, what are you talking about? Or I'm sitting here and meeting people, and this was before I even started posting on social media or even knew that this was a career and that people were making money and like extreme amounts of wealth doing this. So I was like, what do you mean they're just an influencer and they just like post about their lives and get paid for it? Like, what are you even talking about? Or meeting people who actually were musicians and artists and making money from doing that, or meeting people who were actually models and making money from doing that, or people who were just doing unconventional things and making money doing it and living non-traditional lives, but loving it and having so much fun and feeling so fulfilled. I was also being exposed to different ways that people had friendships because I was living in my hometown for so long. And like, I went away to college, but then I came back. Like, when you're in your hometown and it's like the people you're around and the people you've known forever, it's a different type of friendship and vibe that you have than people that you meet like when you're an adult. And when you're an adult and you have different hobbies and things that you like to do and just ways that you are, and you meet people based on who you are now, say like as like a 28-year-old person, rather than you're just friends with somebody because you knew them and you were in a couple classes with them in 7th grade. It's a different experience. So I was also being exposed to different types of friendships too, and the way people like cultivated relationships and had relationships with each other. And I was just like, wait, like this is different, but this is cool. Same thing with relationships, like romantic relationships. I was used to a certain type of relationship that wasn't necessarily healthy, I guess. Like, my parents were divorced growing up and all my friends' parents were divorced growing up. And there was just a lot of toxicity and I've experienced in relationships, and a lot of people I knew experienced in relationships. And it was just like, that was normalized to me. And then coupled with the music and the media and all of that, like completely glamorizing and glorifying toxic relationships, like that normalized that to me. So it's like, oh yeah, everybody's just kind of in a relationship that sucks and we all bitch about it, but we all just put up with it. Like, I thought that was normal, but it literally wasn't. As well as the way I felt about myself and loving myself and feeling confident, true confidence in myself. That also wasn't something that I was exposed to from a young age, or just honestly at all. I was not that confident. I was confident, I guess, growing up to the level of what I knew, but like, I'm so much more confident now and sure of myself now and have such a deep sense of self now and love myself now in a way that I didn't even know was possible 4 or 5 years ago. So as I'm living in this new city and I'm being exposed to these people, it's challenging, like I said, all these beliefs that I had before and this mindset that I had before that I had had for so long and just been repeated and like shown to me for so long. And that was the energy that I was emitting. And because I was emitting that energy, I was attracting that to me. I was attracting more friends like that. I was attracting more relationships like that. I was attracting more jobs like that. I was attracting just more circumstances that led to me not feeling as confident or loving myself, because that was the energy that I was literally swimming in and living in. So as I was learning all this new stuff, I would tell my friends and family about these new ways of life that I was learning about, and they would look at me like I was insane because they were only used to a certain way of thinking and being. And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? And at first it used to frustrate me because they would be like almost like kind of rude, like acting like I'm fucking crazy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, it's not even like, they literally just don't know what I'm talking about. Like, they've only been exposed to a certain way and haven't opened their mind to any of that at all. And they just think that I'm like literally talking out my ass and making all this shit up. And it's not that I'm making it up. It's just I'm telling them about stuff that they literally don't even know is real. And it's not even like crazy stuff. It's just like, oh yeah, you could start a business and make $50,000 a month. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I'm like, yeah, and you could do it online. And they're like, what? It was funny in the beginning, honestly, when I was telling people. And then I kind of stopped, telling my friends and family in the beginning about like the things I was doing, because as I'm trying to like instill this new way in my mind, I didn't want to keep being pulled back, or like, I didn't want other people's doubts and insecurities. Like, they were unconsciously pouring that into me. And I was like, nope, stop blocking that. Like, let me just keep all this knowledge to myself as I'm learning it and soaking it in and implementing it in my life. And as I said earlier, there was something I like to call the hometown mentality, where there's people who grew up in a certain town. It might be a smaller town or just not like a huge major city, right? And they grew up there and they went to school there. They didn't move away. They lived there. They had their families there. They probably married somebody who they went to high school with or this and that. They've been friends with or around the same people that we went to elementary school, middle school, and high school together. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but when you're in the same environment and around the same people that you've been in since you were a kid, you guys are virtually going to think in a similar way. And it's in the way that your parents or your peers or your teachers or whatever taught you. So it's just like this cycle that keeps repeating. And I remember before I moved to Miami and I would just go around and it was like 2019 when I decided I want to move to Miami. I was 27 years old and I was like, LOL, Saturn return time. I'm like, things need to change. But anyway, I was like, the 5 years previous, I had just moved, or the 4 years previous, I had graduated college. I was living in another city for college. I moved back to my hometown in 2015. So from 2015 to 2019, like I felt like I was just going in fucking circles. Like I was hanging around the people that I knew who still lived here, you know, who never left. And so they were just like in this cycle. And I just felt like I was going in circles. And I was like nobody seemed like really genuinely happy or like excited or fulfilled in life. And like everybody was just like living for the weekends and like getting really into drinking and drugs and numbing and nobody at all was doing any sort of self-development or inner work or anything like that or learning or thinking about anything I was doing. Like I said, I was the first person, one of the main people around me that was even doing mushrooms. Like thank God I had one friend who had them and he was giving them to me and I was like, oh, this is cool. And he ended up moving away too. So anyway, I felt like I was just going in circles and I was like, there has to be more. There has to be more than this. Like there's no way that this is it. And this is just how it is. And I just like stay here and live here and I'm miserable and I'm bored and I'm unfulfilled and I'm surrounded by people that I don't necessarily really have anything in common with other than we still live here together and we've known each other since we were 12. But if I met them now, we probably wouldn't be friends. Like I was like, I don't, and everyone's dated everybody and this and that. And like, I don't know. I was over it. And I was like, there has to be more. And that I guess is what sparked me wanting to even learn new information and seek out new information, read new books and watch different YouTube videos and just seek out different knowledge and teachers teaching about the things that we're talking about right now, like energy, vibration, metaphysics, a law of attraction and things like that. So yeah, I was just at a point in my life where I was like, okay, things need to change. And then as I'm learning about this, I'm like, okay, so in order to change the outside, you got to start changing the inside because as within, so without. So when you start changing the way you think and feel and believe, and then you start moving different and acting different, and then you're portraying like a different version of yourself out into the world, and then you start attracting different people, attracting different experiences, and that could be good or bad depending on the direction you're moving in. Obviously at the time I was moving in a better, more positive direction, so I was starting to attract better, more positive people and situations and circumstances and experiences into my life. I was just like, no, everybody around me is miserable, and like maybe it was the mushrooms, that was making me like the veil was dropped, and I was just like, no, like this is fucking crazy. I do not want to live like you guys don't want to live like this. Why the fuck would I want to live like this? And so then I ended up, learning about stuff and moving. And I'm not saying that moving to a new place will automatically completely change your life, but it will expose you to new things and challenge the beliefs that you currently have. It will expand you and open you up. So I moved to Miami as the person that I was. And even though I still had a lot of the beliefs that I had learned and the certain habits that I had, and I was attracting certain kind of people into my life, I was in a new area that was challenging those beliefs. I was in a new area speaking to and meeting new people who were telling me a completely different way of life that they were living, in a different way they were thinking. And I was like, wait, what? And I was just immersing myself in that. Because the thing is, literally, wherever you go, there you are. You cannot run from your problems because they're literally within you, but you can put yourself around different people and places that can provide new solutions to those problems that you couldn't see before. And I feel like I said, I was doing mushrooms and expanding my mind and learning about all of these different topics and living back around the people like in my hometown and at that time in my life and wanting to speak about these different things and have conversations like this and expose myself to different stuff. Like it was kind of stifled here, if I would talk about stuff like that, they would literally think I was fucking crazy. And like by human nature, you don't want to be exiled by the group that you're in, like, because like community means survival, like on a deep subconscious level. So I don't know. I just felt when I was living in another city and I was around other people and I was learning about these new things and talking to people about these things, and it was normal for them to talk about, it's easier for me to immerse myself in this world of elevating myself and personal development and health and wellness and mindset and just entrepreneurship and self-love and confidence and healthy and happy relationships. It was easier because I was around people where that was normal for them. So for instance, if you're wanting to start a business and you want to be an entrepreneur, but you're surrounded with people who've never started a business, who have no idea how to, they have a lot of self-doubt. Maybe they want to, but they just genuinely don't believe in themselves and they don't think they can. I'm not saying that you can't do that around these people, but it will be harder and you won't necessarily be able to talk to them about it because they will unconsciously just project their own negative feelings about themselves onto you. I mean, I would hope that a lot of people that you're around would be encouraging, but a lot of people don't realize it. And when they feel negative about themselves, they just project it onto other people. And they're not necessarily going to give you good advice or encourage you to do that because they don't do it. They don't know how to do it. They don't think that it's possible for them. So why would they think it's possible for you? Or there's a multitude of reasons of why they might not give you good advice or encourage you down that path. But it might tell you that it's dumb, it's not going to work. But like, there's a lot of people doing that. There's a lot of people who've started businesses and they're entrepreneurs, like whether online or before online, you know what I mean? And people are starting businesses, brick and mortar, door to door, like billboards and stuff, and they're extremely successful. It's possible, but you got to get around people who believe that that's possible, because the more that they believe that it's possible, they'll instill that belief in you. Because if you're consistently around people who are just like, there's no way, that's not going to work, why are you wasting your time? You're going to believe that. I always say that I'm so happy that I got the idea and was inspired to start a business and start posting on social media while I was living away from people that I knew, while it was the pandemic and I was physically away from them, and I could just like be myself and do the things I wanted to do and talk to other people who were doing this. And it just like really helped to instill that belief, because I was like, that's why I never started this or even had the idea to do this when I was living back at that time around the people, because nobody was doing it. Nobody was talking about it. Nobody. And even if I even thought to do something out of the ordinary of what the people around me were doing, I would be like condemned. And so I'm just so grateful for that. The same thing goes to relationships. Like I was saying earlier, if you've only been exposed to toxic relationships, if you've only been in toxic relationships, if you've normalized toxic relationships in your life, everybody around you is in them, everybody around you is miserable, they've settled this and that, you're going to think that's normal. You wanting to be in a loving, healthy, romantic, passionate, thriving relationship is not going to be normal to you because nobody around you's in that. Nobody around you's ever been in that. Everybody around you might have only been single parents, or everybody around you might have been in relationships where they're absolutely not happy at all, or there's a lot of cheating involved, but people still stay together, or this and that. Like if whatever you're around all the time, like you're going to think that's normal. So it's important for you that if you want to be in a healthy, loving marriage, to surround yourself with people who are also doing that too, or expose yourself to people who are doing that too, or take the steps, learn, watch videos, read books, like learn from people who have done that. If you want to have a loving group of friends, stop hanging out with the shitty friends, the friends that you gossip with and talk shit about everybody with, who are also probably talking shit about you behind your back, the friends who are fake, who are jealous of you, who are not lifting you up, who are not excited for you. Like, you have only been around those types of friends, so that is normalized to you. So wherever you go out in the world, if you keep having that belief, like, yeah, well, all girls are catty, or all girls suck, or all guys are this, or all whatever, you're going to literally go out into the world and attract that. So you got to start exposing yourself to the energy of the friendships and the relationships that you want to attract to you. Same thing with wanting to live mindful and healthy. This was my thing, because I mean, all the other things were too, but this was a big one for me, because I was realizing that I didn't want to run from myself anymore. And I wanted to live a healthier lifestyle, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, energetically. Like, I just wanted, because I felt so good as I was learning about energy and law of attraction, all of that. I wanted to keep this up, but then I still had a lot of friends who I had known since I was teenagers. And the glue that was holding our friendship together and the friend group together was heavy partying, drugs, toxicity, eating bad, just like being shitty people to each other. Like it was just a whirlwind of toxicity. So as I'm sitting here and being like, hey, I want to wake up in the morning and like go on a run. Do you guys want to go? And they're like, no, like we're going out, and they're out till 6 a.m. But I'm trying to wake up at 7 a.m. to work out. Like it wasn't working. It wasn't meshing anymore because my mind was expanding and I was becoming the energy that I wanted to attract of a healthy life, of healthy people. And so it was just not resonating anymore with my old lifestyle and my old energy. I was like completely letting go of that and removing myself from that. I had realized that so much of what I accepted as truth was not actually true at all. All a belief is a thought that you just keep thinking over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. You could be the most beautiful person ever, but if somebody instilled the belief in you that you're ugly from when you were a kid and just kept telling you you're ugly, and you kept believing and thinking it, you will believe it. And then because you'll believe it, you will then go out into the world and attract more people, experiences, and situations that prove that you're ugly, even though you're not. But it's just a belief that you have because you've accepted it as true. So yeah, all these beliefs that I thought were true, they actually were not true at all. It's just that I had been exposed to it for so long. So I was just going along with the programming. Like, yeah, this is just how it is. Like, this is just how work life is. This is just how friends are. Girls are just shitty and talk crap about you, and they're not supportive, and all men are liars and cheaters, and they're not fulfilling, and they're lazy, and this and that. Like, no, like what the hell? None of that was true, but I was just going along with the programming unknowingly, unconsciously. So I was just attracting more of it. I was being the energy that I was attracting at that time. And like I said, it wasn't until I consciously decided that I wasn't going to walk certain paths anymore, that I was going to start exposing myself to more of what I wanted to be like and remove myself from what I didn't want anymore. I started to change my whole identity. I low-key, high-key had like an identity crisis in my late 20s, Saturn return, like right on schedule because of all this. I'm like in my late 20s and realizing like, okay, yeah, nothing of like what I'm doing or what I'm believing is like conducive to the life that I actually want to live. And I literally need to crumble and like break down everything that I thought I knew and believed and build back up, build something new and stronger and a better foundation. And not necessarily everything, but like a majority of beliefs that I had, they just weren't serving me anymore. So I started to see myself as a person that I wanted to be and lived my life in accordance with that vision. The more I did this, the more I attracted people, places, and experiences that confirmed my new desired reality. And then I would believe in it more and then continue to attract more of it. And it just became a self-fulfilling prophecy. That's essentially what be the energy you want to attract means. Deciding on your desired avatar, your desired reality, desired person you want to be, how they would think, act, feel, and believe, and then doing that. Like literally just doing that. And it becomes a lot easier to do that if you're constantly exposing yourself and exposing your mind to people, places, and experiences that match your desires, whether that's in person, in books, or even online. Literally just changing the kind of content and the people that I followed on social media changed my whole life. I started to follow people who were healthy and good relationships and had great friend groups and had loving relationships with their family, and they were entrepreneurs and they were making crazy, amazing amounts of money that I didn't even know was possible, all from posting online. Like I was following these types of people online. So all of that just started to become normal to me. People who are genuinely happy with themselves, who love themselves, who are confident. And I was like, yeah, I can look at them. They're doing it. They believe that they can be like this. I do. Now I am too. So if you're not enjoying the way your life is going, if it's not fulfilling you anymore, you can literally change it. Like you are not stuck. All you have to do is start by exposing yourself to something new, and you'll witness the unfolding of a life that you truly desire. If you don't know where to start and want guidance along your personal growth journey, check out my Higher Self Mastery program. This program covers everything that I've learned about microdosing mushrooms, upgrading my mindset, and holistic wellness. Implementing these practices into my life has allowed me to feel the happiest, healthiest, and most confident I've ever felt while simultaneously improving every area of my life. In the program, you'll also get access to the best microdosing products ever with a forever discount code and other recommendations and methods and practices that I've done to elevate my life and elevate my mindset and just live great and happy and fulfilled. I'll link the Higher Self Mastery program in the show notes. And if you're not, follow me on TikTok and Instagram and send me a DM. Let's chit chat. I share just a lot of lifestyle content, wellness content, just what I'm doing on a day-to-day. So let's connect there too. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of the Psilly Talk podcast. We'll be back next week. Bye.